Amara stood in the snow outside her sister's mansion, suitcase at her feet, while Keisha screamed through the intercom, "You're dead to us!" Inside, their dying grandmother's Christmas dinner grew cold. What Keisha didn't know, Grandmother Nala's lawyer had visited that morning, and the will was already signed. 3 days before Christmas, Amara wiped down the same cracked countertop she'd cleaned every morning for the past 8 years. The village clinic smelled like antiseptic and worn linoleum. Outside the window, dirt roads stretched between houses with peeling paint and sagging porches. Mrs. Abini sat in the waiting room, her swollen ankle propped on a chair. Amara brought her ice wrapped in a towel that had been stitched back together twice. "Your grandmother doing any better?" Mrs. Abini asked. Amara pressed the ice gently against the ankle. "Some days are harder than others." Mrs. Abini patted her hand. "You're a good girl, not like that sister of yours." Amara said nothing. She'd learned years ago that silence was easier than defending Keisha to people who'd watched her leave and never looked back. The house Amara shared with Grandmother Nala sat at the end of a road where the pavement gave up entirely. Inside, the furniture was older than Amara. The couch sagged in the middle. The kitchen table had 3 matching chairs and one that didn't match at all. Grandmother Nala's oxygen machine hummed in the bedroom, a sound that had become as familiar as breathing. Amara found her awake, staring at the ceiling. "I want you to go to Keisha's for Christmas," Grandmother Nala said. Amara set down the bag of groceries. "You know I can't leave you." "I'm not asking." Grandmother Nala's voice carried the tone that it raised 2 orphaned girls and buried a husband and a daughter. "You've been looking at these same 4 walls since you were 20 years old. You need to see something else. I've seen the city. You took a bus there once for a job interview you didn't get. That doesn't count." Grandmother Nala reached for Amara's hand. Her fingers felt like paper. "Go to your sister's house. Eat fancy food, sleep in a bed that doesn't creak. Do it for me." Amara looked at the oxygen tank, the pill bottles lined up on the nightstand, the medical alert bracelet she'd bought with 3 weeks of saved wages. "Okay," she said. The Greyhound bus left at dawn. Amara's suitcase was the same one she'd used for the 8th grade field trip to the state capitol. Inside, 2 dresses she'd bought from the church clothing sale, a sweater with only one small hole under the arm, and shoes she'd polished until the scuffs were less obvious. The bus smelled like diesel and someone's fried chicken. Amara sat by the window and watched the village disappear into fields, then towns, then highways lined with billboards advertising things she'd never buy. Her phone buzzed. "Keisha, don't embarrass me. Dress appropriately. Marcus's business partners will be there." Amara looked down at her dress. She thought it looked nice this morning. The city rose up like something from another planet. Buildings made of glass, cars that cost more than houses, people wearing clothes that looked like they'd never been worn before. Amara took 2 more buses after the Greyhound dropped her off. The neighborhoods changed with each transfer, from downtown with its homeless people sleeping under scaffolding to tree-lined streets where even the trash cans looked expensive. Keisha's neighborhood had a gate, actual security guards. Amara gave her name and watched the guard check a list before waving her through. The mansion sat behind a lawn that looked like it had been trimmed with scissors. Every window glowed. Through the glass, Amara could see a Christmas tree that touched the ceiling. She rang the doorbell. Keisha opened the door in a cream-colored pantsuit that probably cost what Amara made in 6 months. Her face went tight the moment she saw Amara's suitcase, her coat, her shoes. "You're here," Keisha said. Grandmother Nala insisted. Of course she did. Keisha stepped aside. "Come in, quickly. People are already here." Inside, everything was white or crystal or marble. The Christmas tree was decorated in silver and gold. Not a single ornament looked handmade. The air smelt like expensive candles and catered food. Marcus appeared from a side room holding a glass of something amber. He looked at Amara the way someone looks at a stain on the carpet. "This is my sister, Amara," Keisha said. "Right," Marcus said. He didn't extend his hand. "Welcome." Then he walked away. Voices came from the dining room. Amara followed Keisha through an archway into a space with a table long enough to seat 12 people. 4 couples stood around holding wine glasses. Everyone stopped talking when Amara entered. "Everyone, this is my younger sister, Amara. She's visiting from home." A woman in a burgundy dress smiled. "How nice. What do you do, Amara?" "I work at a medical clinic, and I take care of my grandmother." The woman's smile didn't change. "Oh, like a nurse?" "I'm an assistant. I also do home care." Someone at the end of the table cleared their throat. Another person suddenly became very interested in their wine glass. Marcus clapped his hands. "Let's eat, everyone. The caterer outdid themselves this year." Dinner was courses. Food arrived on plates that looked like art. Amara used the wrong fork twice before she realized there was a system. The conversation moved around the table like a language she didn't speak. Investment properties, vacation homes, private schools, someone's yacht. The woman in the burgundy, Simone, turned to Amara. "So you've been taking care of your grandmother for how long?" 8 years. "That's very noble." Simone's voice made the word noble sound like an insult. "And you've never wanted to pursue anything else?" "I wanted to go to nursing school, but someone had to stay." Simone glanced at Keisha. Keisha was suddenly very focused on cutting her salmon into precise pieces. "Well," Simone said, "family obligations can be so complicated." After dinner, Keisha pulled Amara into the kitchen. The caterers had already cleaned everything. The counters gleamed. "Why did you tell them you're basically unemployed?" Keisha whispered. "I told them what I do. You made it sound like you're nobody. These people are Marcus's colleagues. Their opinions matter." Amara felt something crack open in her chest. "Grandmother Nala is dying, actually dying. The doctor said weeks, maybe." Keisha waved her hand. "She's been dying for 5 years, Amara. At some point, you're using her as an excuse to avoid living your own life." "I'm keeping her alive." "You're making yourself a martyr." Keisha crossed her arms. "You could have left. You could have done something with yourself, but you stayed in that village, in that falling apart house, because it was easier than trying." Amara picked up her purse. "Where's the guest room?" Keisha pointed toward the stairs. "Third door on the left. And Amara, try not to wander around. Marcus doesn't like people touching things." The guest room was bigger than Grandmother Nala's entire bedroom. The bed had more pillows than seemed necessary. Amara sat on the edge and called the neighbor who'd agreed to check on Grandmother Nala. "She's sleeping," Mrs. Abini said. "Ate some soup. Oxygen levels are stable." "Thank you. You okay, baby?" Amara looked around the room. "I'll be home tomorrow." She hung up and lay back on the bed. Through the window, she could see the city lights stretching forever. Somewhere in all that glow, people were living lives she'd never understand. She closed her eyes and tried to sleep. Christmas morning arrived with the sound of children screaming. Amara came downstairs to find Keisha's 2 kids, Zara and Jabari, tearing through a mountain of presents. Wrapping paper covered the floor. The pile of opened gifts looked like a toy store had exploded. Keisha sat on the couch in silk pajamas, sipping coffee. Marcus recorded everything on his phone. "Merry Christmas," Keisha said without looking up. Amara sat in a chair near the fireplace. Nobody handed her coffee. The doorbell rang. Marcus frowned. Who delivers on Christmas morning? He opened the door. A man in a suit stood there holding a small box and a clipboard. "Delivery for Amara Osei," the man said. Everyone turned. Keisha stood up. "Who's sending you mail here?" Amara walked to the door. "I don't know." She reached for the box. Keisha grabbed it first. "Let me see that." "Keisha." But Keisha was already opening it. Inside was a key and a folded letter on legal letterhead. Keisha pulled out the letter and read it, her face going from confused to pale to something like fury. "What is this?" Keisha's voice cracked. Marcus took the letter. He read it out loud. "Dear Miss Amara Osei, as per your grandmother Nala Osei's final will and testament, executed and notarized on December 10th, you are named primary beneficiary and executor of her estate. Enclosed is the key to her safety deposit box at First National Bank. Contents and total assets valued at approximately $4.2 million. Please contact our office at your earliest convenience. Bernard Thompson, attorney at law." The room went silent except for the sound of Zara playing with a robot that made laser noises. Marcus laughed. "This is a scam. Has to be." But Keisha was staring at Amara. "What did you do?" "I didn't do anything. I didn't know." $4 million? Keisha's voice climbed. "Where did she get $4 million? Marcus was reading the letter again. "It says here she owned land, 20 acres that was just purchased by a commercial developer, plus life insurance, plus savings and investments." Keisha grabbed the letter back. "You isolated her. You poisoned her against me." "I took care of her." "You manipulated her." Keisha was shaking. "You kept her away from me so you could control everything. She was my grandmother, too." Amara's hands were trembling. "I called you every week. You never answered." "Because you always wanted something. Money for medicine, money for bills. You made her poor so you could play the hero." Marcus stepped forward. "This will can be contested. Elder abuse, undue influence. We'll get lawyers." Simone and her husband, who'd apparently stayed overnight, appeared in the doorway. They were already dressed, already gathering their things. "We should go. This seems like a family matter." Keisha wasn't listening. She was crying now, mascara running, pointing at Amara. "You took everything from me, everything I was supposed to have." "I didn't take anything. I didn't even know." "Get out," Keisha screamed. "You're dead to us. Get out of my house." Marcus opened the door. Snow was falling outside. Amara walked upstairs, got her suitcase, came back down. Keisha was sobbing on the couch. The children had stopped playing and were staring. Amara walked outside. The door slammed behind her. She heard the locks click. She sat on the front steps. Her phone was inside her coat pocket. Her hands were too numb to feel for it. Snow collected on her shoulders. She finally pulled out her phone and found the number on the letter. Attorney Bernard Thompson answered on the second ring. "Miss Osei?" "Yes." "I apologize for the timing of the delivery. Your grandmother Nala was very specific about her wishes. She wanted you to have Christmas with your sister before you found out." "Found out what?" "That she passed away this morning, 6 a.m. The hospice nurse was with her. She went peacefully." Amara couldn't breathe. The snow kept falling. The attorney was still talking, but the words turned into noise. "Miss Osei? Are you there?" "I wasn't there."
"She knew you wouldn't be. That's why she sent you away. She didn't want you to watch her die. She said you'd already given up too much." A car pulled up. The lawyer said it was for her. Attorney Thompson's office was downtown, on a floor so high Amara could see the whole city through the windows. He was older, with gray at his temples and kind eyes. He showed her documents, land deeds, insurance policies, bank statements. "Your grandmother was a careful woman," he said. "She never touched her late husband's life insurance. She worked, saved, invested small amounts over decades. When the developer approached her about the land, she negotiated herself, got twice what they initially offered." He showed Amara another document, a handwritten letter. "My dear Amara, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Don't cry too long. I lived a full life, and I got to spend my last years with someone who loved me more than comfort or ambition. This money isn't a reward, it's a tool. Use it to build the life you deferred for me. Go to school, help people, make the village better. I'm leaving Keisha $50,000, not because she doesn't deserve more, but because she needs to remember what she walked away from. Money won't fix what's broken in her. That's work she has to do herself. You were always my heart. Thank you for staying. Love, Grandmother Nala. Amara folded the letter. Her hands weren't shaking anymore. There's one more thing, Thompson said. The will explicitly states that it cannot be contested except under evidence of fraud or criminal coercion. I have 8 years of documentation proving your grandmother's sound mind and independent decision-making. If your sister tries to fight this, she'll lose. Amara didn't answer Keisha's calls. There were 17 by New Year's. She returned to the village, planned the funeral, watched hundreds of people show up to say goodbye to a woman who'd delivered half their babies and nursed the other half through illness. Keisha came. She stood in the back of the church in a black designer dress and sunglasses. She didn't approach the casket. She didn't speak to anyone. After the service, she walked up to Amara. "Can we talk?" Amara looked at her. "When's the last time you called her? Not me, her." Keisha opened her mouth. Nothing came out. "That's what I thought," Amara said. "She loved you anyway. That's what you'll have to live with." Keisha left. Amara watched her get into a rental car and drive away. 6 months later, the Nala Osei Medical Clinic opened on the site of the old community center. 3 full-time nurses, free care for anyone who needed it. Amara had enrolled in nursing school. She studied between shifts, the same way she'd taught herself all those years ago. She heard things through the village network. Keisha and Marcus divorced. Keisha lost her friends when the money rumors started. She was working retail now, living in a 1-bedroom apartment, trying to figure out who she was without the mansion and the status. One day, a letter arrived. "Amara, I don't expect forgiveness. I probably don't deserve it, but I want you to know I finally understand what Grandmother Nala was trying to teach me. Wealth isn't what you own, it's what you give. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. Keisha." Amara read it twice, then folded it carefully and placed it inside Grandmother Nala's old Bible, the one with the cracked leather cover and the pages soft from decades of handling. She walked through the clinic. Mrs. Abani was getting her blood pressure checked. A young mother waited with a feverish child. Mr. Kofi needed his prescriptions refilled. Amara knew all their names. She knew their families, their histories, their fears. She pulled on her white coat and got to work. Outside, the village looked the same as it always had: dirt roads, peeling paint, sagging porches. But inside the clinic, something had changed. The lights stayed on, the medicine was free, and every person who walked through those doors was met with the same thing Amara had given her grandmother for 8 years: someone who stayed.